You might be driving longer routes with more students than you used to. Budget cuts can force consolidated routes. Actually, there are a number of reasons why you might have a variety of students of different ages or disabilities on the same bus. You need to be watchful to see if the more powerful students use those differences to harass others. It's said that music soothes the savage beast. But don't help to hide harassment with loud music. And even if you're someone who can tune out loud talking, it's best not to tolerate excessive noise. Of course, you can't be policing every word that's said while your eyes are focused on the road, but you do need to be in a position to hear what's going on to the extent that's reasonable. You're the one in charge. You have to be ready to react to verbal behaviors that are unacceptable. And while you're the one in charge, don't feel like it's a sign of weakness or a confession that you can't do your job if you need additional support. Because if you let things slide rather than ask for help, if you seem indifferent to these issues, it can lead to student injury, to parent complaints, and lawsuits. Doing nothing is always the wrong answer. The question is, what do you have to do? In short, the law requires a prompt and adequate response. Neither a school district nor a school bus company can carry out its responsibilities unless you carry out yours. Here's how you start. Know what your district or company policy says and follow it. I know from experience that there is nothing more boring than reading policy and procedure, but these documents are your roadmap to action. And by policy, I'm including your driver's manual. That's your guide to the appropriate course of action for many student conduct issues. Listen and respond when parents or students express concerns. When you're responsive, you earn trust. That's true customer service. Be familiar with plans educators have developed that tell you how to handle a particular student's special challenges. Many of you may remember the story I've told before of the equal opportunity choker. You know, the driver who choked a student with special needs when he stole the bus keys. Certainly, the driver's choice of response was wrong from any point of view. The district's mistake in that case was not sharing with the driver the behavior plan that would have provided the driver with more traditional and effective strategies. When school administrators have shared information about a student's predictable bus behaviors and how to deal with them, your job is to use the information you've received. Be sure you know how to do that. If you don't, ask questions. Never take the position that students should try to cope with harassment. Don't say things like, "I'm sure he didn't mean it," or "lighten up," or "toughen up." What do you think those messages communicate? You're right. They tell the student that you're not going to help stop the hurt. Report and document. Immediate reports to supervisors are often the key to preventing liability for a school district. Assume that those at the helm will take the right action, so give them the necessary information to permit them to do just that. Now let me be honest with you. I've sometimes heard that transportation professionals can feel like they're in a black hole, that the folks in the school building or senior administration are not backing them up. That certainly isn't the norm, but it is the experience of some. Document your reports and do the best you can. don't let the inaction of others be an excuse for your own action. Frankly, legal cases about harassment on the bus frequently allege that the transportation director failed to respond to parent complaints or was simply unavailable to them. Don't let your failure to report be the reason for those kinds of assertions. There's lots you can do before student harassment escalates into an unmanageable situation. Share your expectations with students early and often. Review bus rules that speak to respect for one another and for you. Please don't feel like it's not your place to comment on their language. Every adult who takes part in a student's school day is ultimately a teacher. You can be part of the team that educates your riders as to appropriate and inappropriate words and conduct. Part of your job is supervision. Students know when you're paying attention. Good drivers are aware of the students in their charge. If you see or hear something that shouldn't be happening on the bus, say so to the students.
Sit down back there. Sit down.
A simple "stop that" in a firm voice can often make the difference. Where doing nothing about harassment is always wrong, what you must do isn't written in stone. But generally you'll be fine if you're fair, consistent and clear, and practice good student management techniques. In many circumstances, it can be enough to warn a student who is harassing another student. Explain the possible consequences of not stopping such conduct. But sometimes you must take next steps. When you're dealing with very serious conduct, your admonitions won't suffice. And you've got to recognize when telling and explaining are no longer enough. Why not? Because they're not stopping the problem. As with all other student issues, keep matters confidential. Discuss what has happened only with your supervisor and appropriate school personnel. Use the tools you've been given. A surprising number of cases, as well as stories I've heard from supervisors, make reference to drivers turning off the camera on the bus. Not all buses have cameras for a variety of reasons, but if you have a video surveillance system, it can be your best friend in supporting your version of what happened on the bus when a parent calls with a concern. Let's focus on your concerns about your responsibilities in this area, the questions I know you want to ask. Do you have any questions? Yes.
Will I be liable if I miss something?
The truth is, there's little chance of you being held liable for failing to prevent student-to-student harassment or for failing to take any particular action. But there's more to a lawsuit than liability, more to an incident even than if you're sued or even whether you lose your job. You don't want to have to worry about what you should have done differently. Who else? Yes?
What do we really have to watch for?
I need to answer that question generally. Be sure to listen to students when they complain. Find out what they feel is happening. And as a more specific matter, be prompt and diligent about relaying reports of harassment to your supervisor or to school administrators. Who else?
When does the behavior of a little one count as harassment?
That's hard to say. And the truth is, there are cases in which students in primary grades are characterized as harassers. You just can't let it go. Younger students can engage in harassing and bullying behaviors. And experts tell us that they may not grow out of this conduct without early intervention. It's not only unrealistic to believe harassment and bullying will stop when youngsters mature, it's simply incorrect. By the time young students reach middle or high school, even the best interventions may not work. These late efforts may have failed from a legal standpoint, too. Who else has a question? Yes.
If a student who is claiming harassment starts to act normal like the behavior has stopped, is it okay to assume that everything's all right?
Don't assume that no news is good news. You've got to follow up with a student who's talked to you about this and just see how he or she is doing. The student may not say anything about continuing harassment for any number of reasons. These are great questions. I hope that you're all more aware of your responsibilities to address student-to-student harassment on your bus. As school bus drivers, you take students down the road to learning every day. Don't let student-to-student harassment rob your rider of his or her voice. A student who is harassed and bullied may get to school in one piece. The odds are he will. But there's more to the safe bus ride than to be accident-free, and he certainly won't get to school ready to learn. That first hour of the day can be miserable for a student who can't stop thinking about what's happened on the bus ride that morning. That last hour in class will be no more productive for a child who dreads getting back on the bus. But you can make a difference. You set the stage for learning to take place. When you have reason to know students are being made to feel bad by other students in the course of the ride, do something about it. You can put the brakes on harassment on your bus. Each day, you arrive at school with students who depend on you. If you take appropriate action, your district or company will not only steer clear of legal issues, because of you, the students on your bus will get to school safely and ready to learn.